What's up, everybody? Garrett back here. What I want to talk about today is a franchise, a Christmas horror franchise, and one of my favorites, Silent Night, Deadly Night. All right, so what I want to talk about today is Silent Night, Deadly Night. So my history with this film goes back to the VHS days, I feel like. I don't think I saw this movie before VHS. I can remember going into the video store. I was probably a teenager at the time, probably late teens, I'm thinking. And I remember seeing that big box on the shelf, and that was what really stood out. Not only was there a big box, but it had Santa Claus's hand with an axe coming out of the chimney, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I completely fell in love with it. I'm really big on Christmas movies. I'm big on especially Christmas horror movies, like Black Christmas, and even things like Gremlins and growing up as a kid, even kids movies that had horror elements like Babes in Toyland, stuff like that I just always was really drawn to. So having a killer Santa Claus was something I knew I needed to check out. So seeing that big box itself on the shelf was just mind-blowing at the time because, again, it just didn't look like anything else I was really seeing. I remember watching the movie, liking it quite a bit, and then kind of finding out later by my uncle the history behind that movie and how it was basically taken out of theaters, there was protests, and then it was a long while since I saw that movie again. So when I go back to my VHS collection, surprisingly, I didn't have any Silent Night Deadly Nights on VHS ever in my collection. I never had the big box. I never had any of the sequels. My real first Silent Night Deadly Night collecting started at DVD. Now, like I said, never owning that movie, it wasn't one that I was super familiar with besides just seeing it that one time on VHS that I rented from Blockbuster Video. So when I was getting into my horror collecting, for whatever reason, it kind of passed me by. But the first initial release for that movie, I believe, was this double pack here from Anchor Bay. This had Silent Night Deadly Night. It had Silent Night Deadly Night 2 on here. And this was the one to get. But the real controversy with this one at the time was kind of like, oh, it's cut. It's not fully unrated. So I kind of held off on it. But this thing ended up going out of print really quickly. And I couldn't get my hands on it till years later. This actually became so out of print and so valuable because Silent Night Deadly Night hadn't seen the light of day of anything else besides this for years to come. So I'm going to look really quick. I'm not sure exactly when this was released, but again, it's the Silent Night Deadly Night 2-pack from Anchor Bay. And as you guys know, if you follow this channel, that little boat, that Anchor Bay boat on the side is like everything to me. If I see any horror movies with that on the side at thrift stores or any used stores, and I don't have it, I definitely pick it up. I just really love it. It just brings back such a great time in collecting for me because if you saw that little Anchor Bay boat, you knew it was one you had to check out. And I'm kind of just still getting my collection going. If I see anything I don't have with that little boat there, I grab it because Anchor Bay were like the gold standard for horror fans back then. So I still love it to this day. It says DVD double feature. It's got both of them in there. Let me see if I can find out when this was released. This was released in 2003, and it had both of these on here. And it's got one of those DVDs that you kind of flip around. So Silent Night Deadly Night's on one side, Silent Night Deadly Night 2 is on the other. Yeah, so it's very bare bones. Comes with like a little card in here that talks a little bit about the movies. Again, as you can see here, if you guys haven't seen this edition, like I said, this was the rare edition. You see Eric Freeman there. This was really sought after. And what happened was I ended up missing out on this, and I was so bummed, and this was going for big money on eBay. And I was like, I can't buy it. I can't buy it. It's too much money. Hoping for maybe an upcut version of this. And you know what? We ended up getting one a couple of years later. Silent Night, Deadly Night, uncensored and uncut for the first time the way it was meant to be seen. This was the first edition I bought and had in my collection. This came out in, 2007. So you think about that. This was 2003. We didn't see another Silent Night, Deadly Night until 2007. So that period of time, this was so sought after. Like, I was so bummed because I wanted it for my collection. So it's just wild that it took this long to get a new edition here. And this is the first one I remember picking up. This is kind of when Anchor Bay went through a little bit of a transition. As you can see, the boat became blue. Now, I forget the story behind this. I don't know if that was like they were bought out and they changed the direction. I don't remember, but this to me is where they were still cool and they were still putting out some good stuff. But once they lost the boat image, I feel like things kind of went downhill from there. So this was, to me, was kind of like the new and improved, the updated Anchor Bay. You had things like cool Reanimator box sets they were getting, some cool Evil Dead sets. So like this was still a real cool time for Anchor Bay in 2007-ish. And we got this, and it says, "You've made it through Halloween trying to survive Christmas." Like you see the back. It's really, really cool. Again, it's got the poster art here, but it's a little bit different. It almost looks like it's kind of, I don't know, coming out of a magazine or something. It's a different type of image than the classic one you're used to seeing. And inside you get the movie poster, that iconic movie poster. I think that's a pretty valuable print. I do not have this one sheet. And you've got the cool disc art on there as well. So that was the first edition of any Silent Night, Deadly Night I had in my collection in 2007. And when it comes to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, at this point, I didn't own it in my collection because I didn't have this edition. And to be honest, I hated Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 when I first saw it. I was a late teen. I rented it again on VHS, and I absolutely hated it because it was basically like a rehash of the original. And at the end, you know, you have all the stuff with Ricky and all the memorable scenes now. But again, I don't even remember if I made it that far in. I think I got to like when he started breaking out of the mental asylum, because before all that, it was just clips from part one. And I was like, this is awful. I remember taking it out, and, you know, I never wanted to watch it again. But after I got Silent Night, Deadly Night on DVD, I knew I needed to try to track down the second one, but the only way to get the second one was in that set still, and this is going on 2008. And as far as the sequels, like those things were not coming out either. And I remember going to a convention and I saw a bootlegging table. Those were really big back then. And the guy had this, which is a nice standalone looking Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. So I grabbed this thing because I just felt like this looked so awesome. Like even if you look at the spine, it like really matched up with, you know, the other one that I had. Like it really matched up really well. So as you can see there, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 looked great on the shelf, says DVD down below. But it was a bootleg, and he actually had nice disc art in here too, with the original poster art in here. And I thought this was awesome. I love that artwork. I actually have a one sheet of this signed by Eric Freeman and Robert Brian Wilson on this one sheet here. But yeah, you know what? After watching it a second time, I appreciate it a lot more. That first initial time, like I said, on VHS, I was super disappointed. I was like, this is one of the worst sequels ever. Such a ripoff. What, it didn't even make sense. How did this thing get a theatrical run? I mean, I was really, really bummed about this. But after I got this edition and rewatched it again, I really grew to like it. I think, like I said, it's just so wild for that time, late 80s. You know, and the role of Eric Freeman, I thought was just so killer as Ricky. I was really a big fan at that point. So then a couple of years went by, and we ended up getting almost a repeat of the original Anchor Bay release, that double feature, except this time it was an unedited version of the original. And that was this piece here, and this was Anchor Bay again. Now, this was another kind of reiteration of Anchor Bay. They had now moved on to this logo. You probably recognize this now. I think they still use that. It's like a little A. To me, this is kind of when Anchor Bay started kind of declining around this time. It was cool that we got this edition because it's almost like they did a reissue of the one that was so sought after for so long, except they did give us the unrated cut in here. So I snagged this right away just because at that point I was like, all right, now I have an official release of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. This came out in 2012. So again, we're taking another, 2007 to 2012. I mean, that's another 5 years. So it's just crazy to me, like how much span of time it took to get these releases back out. So this was the first time you really got this one again since 2003, where the first double pack came out from Anchor Bay. So this was really sought after at the time. So I did grab this, just being a huge fan. I was able to kind of get an official Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 into my collection. You've got this, see, they were onto the recyclable now. You've got these cool little images here. It's just, you know, get the logos on it and stuff. You could tell Anchor Bay was putting out some okay stuff, but they were kind of cheaping out a little bit compared to what they were doing in like the late 2000s up until like around 2011-ish or so. But yeah, crazy to me. And it's really just a rehash of this as well. So you don't get anything different on this than you do here. There's nothing really going on as far as part 2 on this, because at the time Eric Freeman was like MIA, like nobody knew where he was. I can remember there was a big documentary, Finding Eric Freeman. I remember all that. And him kind of becoming uncovered. I remember watching documentaries on him, or there was even some out there, I think, where people were pretending they were him because Ricky had just become such a cult icon at the time for his role in that movie. But when this came out, the one good thing as a collector is that I was able to score this. So going into my used DVD store at one point, I was looking, I was like, oh my God, they had this sitting on the shelf cheap, maybe like 12 bucks, 10 bucks or something like that used. And I finally was able to add this to my collection because to me, this was like a grail. And to finally see it, maybe like almost 10 years later, I think this was 2003, this came out in 2011, shortly after this was released, this one I was able to find. So to me, it seems like someone upgraded to get the uncut and dumped this one off in its place. And lucky me, I was able to score it because this, to me, even though it's cut, this was always the one I wanted, everybody wanted. It was very rare, very sought after. So to have them in my collection, you know, I'm really, really happy with. And as you can see, the upgrading game was always there, right? The double dips were always there. I was a lot more into double dipping back then. I was about collecting everything, every edition. And, you know, what happens is you end up running out of space. So I'm a very different collector than I was back then. I mean, not a lot different, but in some aspects. Because as you can see, these all still sit on my shelf because I do have all my Anchor Bays up there. So these sit proudly in my Anchor Bay section as well. I was lucky enough to check out Silent Night, Deadly Night in the theater, I think probably around the time this uncut one was released again. They did a theatrical run, I think like one night only or something around Christmas. And I was able to check this out in the theater, and I thought that was just a real cool experience. And like I said, I was able to meet Eric Freeman and Robert Brian Wilson at a convention to sign my Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 one-sheet. So that was a real cool experience as well. Big fan of that. Well, it doesn't stop there because what ends up happening now is that Lionsgate ended up getting the rights to the other sequels. And at that point, I had never really seen them. I never rented the VHSs. After part 2, I was kind of like, I'm done with this series. I may have caught some of these maybe on like TV because there was a lot of horror movies I was watching like late at night growing up, and I still don't remember names and stuff of what they were. I may have caught a glimpse of this. These seemed like ones, especially in the early 90s, that would have been on TV quite a bit, especially around this time of year. But this is the 3-disc set for Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, 4, and 5. So from Lionsgate, it's got the slip cover. I know everybody's loved this slip. This is an early bad boy slip. And this came out in 2009. So all right, I'm a little bit off. So I must have got this before I got this and before I got this, which is weird because I felt like I maybe got this last, but I guess not because in 2009, I would have got this right away. I had the slip, all that stuff. And this housed the sequels. Now, it's an interesting sequel list that we got here. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. To me, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out is probably my least favorite out of the three. Cheesy fun, late 80s. I think actually it was, late 80s, maybe like 89, I think this one came out. You do get Bill Moseley in here. It does still follow Ricky, but it's not Eric Freeman who plays the role here. And it's okay. I mean, it's nothing great. Very low budget, made for TV type movie. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Not really a Christmassy type feel. There's no Ricky or Billy in here. It's a totally new story. Definitely seems like one of those like made for TV movies that would have been on Showtime or Cinemax or something like that. But what's nice about Initiation is Brian Usna actually helped with this one. I think he directed or wrote it or both. So adding his touches in there, if you like things like Dolls and Reanimator, and, From Beyond and Society and stuff like that, which I do have a soft spot for Initiation. It's not the best out of these three in my opinion, but it's okay. It takes away, there's not a lot of Christmas elements to it, but it's a pretty okay movie. Like I said, just be mindful. It feels like an early 90s TV horror movie. And the last one is Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, which I feel is like the underrated, the hidden gem out of all these. Really like has that like late 80s like cheese factor to it. I think Brian Usna helped with this one as well, but wanted to make it a lot more Christmas-like because Initiation was not. So he went back and really made this feel like Christmas. He had a lot of toy elements to it. The special effects were really, really cool in this. Mickey Rooney, I think, was in this one. I think that's who that was. Yeah, and I suggest checking this out. I actually ended up buying like a one-sheet poster of it because it was just such a cool, weird, bonkers movie. And I think that is the hidden gem in this mix. So taking this apart, you know, you get that, it's kind of like a default image, but you get the Silent Night, Deadly Night logos there. And it comes with 3 discs here. So very cool release. It was the first time you ever could get these on DVD. So this was the first time it ever hit this kind of format from VHS. And I mean, that was 2009, I said this came out. So it was quite a while till we got these. I remember the sequels floating around the bootleg tables for a while as I was going to conventions and stuff. So that was like my history on DVD. Now, when we get into the Blu-ray game, the first one I bought was this Anchor Bay Silent Night, Deadly Night edition. It was unrated. You know, like I said, I'm a big Anchor Bay guy, so definitely wanted to grab this. I really enjoy the movie a lot. It was okay. It was basically this version that we got, just upscaled. There wasn't anything else really going on here. I think the quality was a big difference from this. Again, I don't remember. It's been so long. But yeah, I mean, it was one I had to have because just being a huge fan of it. Now, staying on the Blu-ray route, announced was Silent Night, Deadly Night Blu-ray from Scream Factory. So, you know, obviously I needed to snag that. I mean, this was a cool edition and all, but Scream Factory at the time was just killing it. So I knew I had to get it. You had this cool artwork here. Really, really nice artwork. Underneath, I get the original movie poster. You can't beat this. This is still one of my favorites. I have like a mini poster of this that I used to hang in the movie room. It's, you know, I don't have room for it anymore, but I still have it. It's just a cool image. I would love to get a one sheet of that. And I don't mind the artwork here. I'm not a big, you know, commissioned artwork is give or take for me. I always like original movie posters better, but I like this one. It was pretty good. And with this, I did get a NECA figure with Billy. I did get that part of this bundle. I did get a poster that I have kind of packed away. So cool addition that Scream Factory did. They did a great job. A lot of special features. I know a lot of new stuff that we didn't get anywhere else. Double disc, reversible cover art. So pretty damn cool to get that. So that was 2017 that this one came out. And that was, again, another 3 years since I think the Anchor Bay Blu-ray had come out. And then in the following year around Christmas, we got the Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. So at this point, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 has established a real cult following. So this was a big release for them as well. 2018, this was the first real mega standalone edition for this movie on physical media besides the VHS. Very, very cool. Got a collector's edition. I could not even believe that. Tons of special features. Eric Freeman had been found at this point. He's on the scene. He's on the circuit. He's respecting this role. He's happy with this role. He's embracing it, and I truly appreciate it because it is one of a kind. And again, you got that old school cover art. I really like this image with the gun and the ball on the hanging from the tree. Very, very cool. Loaded with extras. Inside, you get reversible cover art. This is only a single disc edition because again, it didn't really have another edition for this. So really, really awesome to get this one. And what I like about it is not only did it match this like that, it just really went together. I got the poster as well to match this. So I have both posters. Very cool. You got the two brothers right here. The Brothers of Destruction. And I did get the figure too. So I got the Eric Freeman figure. and I have the Billy figure as well. So that's really cool to have an Eric Freeman figure from NECA. It's just mind-boggling that we have that. So very, very, very cool. If you guys haven't, I think I probably showcased both of those. If you go way back in my archives, just type in Born to Be Rad NECA. I did a full show talking about all my NECA figures with Uncle Bill. We both collect them. And we kind of showcased all of them at the time, or at least some of our favorites. So if you haven't checked that out, it's an older video. Scroll down and check it out. It'd be a cool watch, something different. So we go on to the end here. When it comes to Silent Night, Deadly Night, all we needed were the sequels now. Where are they on Blu-ray, right? And this is what we got. We just got this in. We got Silent Night, Deadly Night from Vestron for parts 3, 4, and 5, the ones I talked about earlier. And I will tell you this, I just watched parts 3 and 5. I'm about to watch part 4. They look awesome. They look never better, stunning. You got 3 discs with artwork here that matches the front. I mean, Vestron is one of my favorite lines right now. I've got all of them. All of them in the line just are really, really good. I think they're picking some bangers. And this to me is one to get. I mean, man, there's 3 movies in here, and I think you can get it for like $12, $11. I mean, that is a steal. Steal. Again, they're not the greatest movies in the world, but they're fun to me. I really enjoy them. It just brings me back to like that late 80s, early 90s horror feel. And like I said, they're bonkers, but fun. So I think, like I said, Toy Maker is kind of the underrated gem, in my opinion. And you're talking about a guy who loves the movie Elves, right? Like, it's one of my favorite Christmas horror movies. And it's just so bonkers and cheesy. Like, nobody else probably cares about Elves. And I kind of put Toy Maker in the same bracket as something like Elves. So that is this. So now really quick, I will kind of just run through it really quick. You do get some special features on this new one. I might as well talk a little more about this. So you do get some special features here. Part 3 came out in 89, Part 4, I think 90, and Part 5, 91. You get some interviews and stuff in here. You get your trailers. They talk a little bit about some of the effects and stuff. So, again, nothing crazy with the features, but you get something. But I definitely recommend picking this up. It just came out, and with these, like anything else, if you want the slipcover on your Vestrons, you need to get it early, get it now. And the price is right, especially around Christmas time. So that's the brand new Silent Night, Deadly Night collection, part 3, 4, and 5 from Vestron. Like I said, Lionsgate owned them because they put out the old DVDs, so I had a feeling that this was on the way. And I had brought it up to Wes and them a while back, and they kind of rolled their eyes a little bit. But yeah, then Slippy announced it, so I knew this was a possibility just based on him saying they had something big coming around Christmas, and I knew Lionsgate had owned them prior, so definitely happy to have it. Best way to get these movies, and I hope they get a little bit more love now than they've gotten throughout the years. That kind of wraps it up. I did bring as a bonus, I have the Blu-ray of the Silent Night, which is kind of the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, or retelling. It's not really similar much at all. It's okay. It's pretty cool. I mean, I don't really compare it to these ones. It's kind of its own thing. Santa's a little bit more like, this was kind of around like the Rob Zombie Halloween era, I believe. This came out in, I don't even know, Anchor Bay put it out. I don't know, I'm guessing this is probably, it says 2012. 2012, really? I'm shocked that this is 10 years old. I really am. That's wild. So, like, yeah, kind of around that era. So you kind of get a lot of that. Like, Malcolm McDowell's in this again. Santa looked pretty cool in here. It was a different kind of Santa. I had, like, a mask, had flamethrower. It was different. So, I don't hate it. It's definitely one to check out. I mean, again, if you like Christmas horror, you might as well just add this to your collection. You can probably get it pretty cheap now. But that's Silent Night. And as far as the franchise and where it goes from here, I don't know. I don't know if there's works of like remakes or anything like that. I assume we're going to probably get the original one on 4K. I would have thought this year, but let's say maybe next December would probably be the best for it. Maybe you'll get it in like a double pack with the second one, which I think I would probably... I don't know, maybe prefer that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really kind of on the fence about my upgrades with Scream Factory right now because I've got everything. I've got basically all the collector's editions and I just am upgrading them and it's silliness. I'm trying to be picky doing it, but I just keep getting more and more. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'd probably definitely buy part one. Again, I don't know. So we'll see what happens here. But guys, I hope you enjoy this. A little bit of a different video. Wanted to just talk about my physical media collection for Silent Night, Deadly Night because I'm a big fan of the whole franchise. It is December, and I figured it'd be great content for all you physical media collectors out there and learning a little bit more about the history of some of this stuff. Again, sadly, I didn't have any VHS or Laserdisc or anything to show because I didn't own any. My first time getting these in my collection was around the DVD days, but I did have everything from DVD forward. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this stuff, please hit the like button down below. Let me know, do you remember what I was talking about with some of these things? Did you have the big box that I never had? Were you a fan of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 the first time you saw it? Did you grab this brand new edition? Do you have any of these editions, especially those Anchor Bay DVDs? Because like I said, that initial double pack was a grail for a lot of people at some point. So let me know down below. I want to hear some love for Silent Night, Deadly Night. And if you are not subscribed, please do if you like this kind of stuff. We are closing in on December and we have a lot of stuff to come. So guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hang out with me quite a bit more. If you see me on a live stream, come and say what's up, especially if you're a new subscriber or you haven't commented in a live chat before. I love interacting with you guys. This is Garrett at Born to Be Rad, and like always, stay rad.